Stone and the Stranger. The snow had come glimmering, shimmering down. The cold wind had wrapped it around and around the cottage and farmhouse, the rich house and poor, as it tapped with white fingers the window and door. And the children were hustled upstairs and to bed, while their parents discussed how the town could be fed. For 4 winter weeks the snow drifted and fell, till the road from the field not a farmer could tell, or a path from a stream, or a rock from a hill, and the people grew hungry and hungrier still. Then at last came a day when the sunlight crept through, and the townsfolk all came to decide what to do. But everyone there with a loaf or a bun kept his heart tightly closed, lest his neighbour had none. Then a stranger said, "Build me a fire in the square." And for brambles and twigs they ran here and ran there. "And place a large pot in the heart of the flame, and gather around," said the man with no name. "Neither jewels nor diamonds nor gold do I own, but my treasure is here, in this magical stone. If I wait till the water grows bubbly and hot, and I drop in this stone through the mouth of the pot, it will make this amazing and wonderful stew." And the people all shouted, "Oh, do, sir, please do." Then lo and behold, just as quick as a flash, they saw it soar up and drop down with a splash. Then he dipped in a ladle and tasted the stew, and murmured aloud, "It will do, it will do." But a carrot would give it a wonderful taste. And a neighbour ran home in the greatest of haste, and when he threw in every carrot he had, the stranger then tasted and murmured, "Not bad. But an onion, one onion at least, would give it a lift from a meal to a feast." Away went another to grab from the shelf the onions he'd hung there, all save for himself. And each time he tasted, the stranger said, "Good." Then away went another as fast as he could. And when each one had brought some, and when each one had none, the stranger looked up from the pot and said, "Done." Oh, they filled up their bowls with the magical stew, and to empty the pot gave them all they could do. And at last they trudged homeward, all happy and fed, and gave thanks for the feast, and fell straight into bed. When the blanket of night rolled away from the day, the stone and the stranger had gone on their way, to search in the snow for a village in need, to make neighbours of strangers, the people agreed.
So, do you think the stone is magical? And do you think that makes the delicious stew more delicious? Or did, perhaps, the stranger persuade all the villagers to be a little less selfish, a bit less greedy, and share the few bits of food they had managed to gather in that terribly cold weather? After they shared, everybody ate well. What is greed? Perhaps it's keeping everything for yourself and not sharing with others. Some people even think it's denying other people the things that you have and that you want. If you don't wish to be greedy, can you be prepared to give? Giving might include to a charity. For example, giving money to some charities can help poor people in other countries. People who, for example, have had their lives badly affected by natural disasters and wars. That would certainly be generous to help people by giving your own money, your allowance, for example. But there are other ways of being generous, of giving too. Most would agree it's a very good thing to be able to give to others. There are many things you can give which won't cost you a penny, which would be very much appreciated. One way is being generous with your time by helping your parents, for example, at home, maybe by doing a household chore without complaining. Another thought: what about being generous with your friend in school by listening carefully to what they have to say, perhaps smiling and laughing with them? How do you think that would make them feel about you? Being generous of spirit by not complaining about people who you might find a little annoying. Perhaps someone in your family, maybe a brother or a sister. Is that too difficult? By being generous with your attention, by being supportive and helpful to a classmate who maybe is stuck with some work that you know how to do. They might help the other way round at some point. These are all good things to do, and these positive sorts of actions give us a really strong sense of satisfaction. When people act in an agreeable way, they feel good about themselves, and rightly so. They feel that they are decent, kind people and trying their best. That creates a strong, warm sense of satisfaction from within, and that feeling lasts a long time. It's great when we have a little money, isn't it? And we can go and buy ourselves a tasty treat, like some sweets or something like that. But that feeling doesn't last long. You eat the sweet, you feel good about the sweet, it's gone. The moment passes. Most people recognise that when we are charitable and generous, both with our money, but especially with our time and our efforts, that good feeling defends us against people who are mean-spirited and people who are hurtful towards us. They want to persuade us that we're not good people, but those acts of charity and self-giving defend us against that. They give us a long-serving sense of doing the right thing.
Heaven and hell. A man spoke with the elder about heaven and hell. "I will show you hell," said the elder. And they went into a room which had a large pot of stew in the middle. The smell was delicious, and around the pot sat people who were famished and starving, desperate and miserable. All were holding spoons with very long handles which reached to the pot. But because the handles of the spoons were longer than their arms, it was impossible to get the stew into their mouths. Their suffering was terrible. "Now I will show you heaven," said the elder. And they went into an identical room. There was a similar pot of stew, and the people had similar identical spoons. But they were well nourished, talking and happy. At first the man did not understand. "It's simple," said the elder. "You see, they have learned to feed each other."
Isn't it interesting that the place that people talk about being such a horrible place in the story, hell, looks exactly the same as the place that people think of being wonderful, heaven. The only difference between the two places in the story is the attitude of the people there. For a moment, think of someone you know who might be considered to be greedy or selfish. What do you think about that attitude? Is it a good attitude? How does it make you feel about that person? Do you like that person? Or does it prevent you from liking them as much as you could? Can you think of someone who was kind, generous, thoughtful, and helpful towards you? How does that make you feel about them? I bet you think in a very positive way about that person, don't you?